Hello everyone, back tuning into today's video. We're going to have a look at the weather for the coming few days in today's video. We're looking at the next 5 to 8 days or so. We've got some very interesting weather patterns coming up actually over the next few days. If this was winter, we would be looking at a phenomenal cold spell probably and a lot of heavy snow, but it's not winter, it's autumn of course, so it just means it's going to be very cool and generally very wet. But certainly some very interesting weather patterns to have a look at, and as I said, we'll go on through the charts in a moment and see what's happening. Before I get on with the video, I just want to talk about the advertising. There'll usually be a video ad overlaying my weather videos at gazweathervids.com. Please play those video ads. You will be supporting gazweathervids.com if you do that. So we're going to start off with the 500 millibar height anomaly charts. These are for 8 to 10 days time. Height anomalies for 8 to 10 days time. This is taking us beyond now the middle of October. So what we're looking at here is the ECMWF on the left, GFS on the right. 500 millibars, 18,000 feet is where we get areas of high pressure and low pressure developing. These areas of high pressure and low pressure are depicted on these charts by the red and the blue areas. The red areas indicating high pressure, above average heights, above average temperature really at 500 millibars. The blue colours depicting below average temperatures at 500 millibars, and that's where we've got the low pressure. So what this is showing is that the ECMWF is predicting a huge blocking area of high pressure to the north of the British Isles. This is the British Isles just here. And this vast red and orange area is a big blocking area of high pressure developing right to the north of the country, and the consequence of that is to push the jet stream well south. The lines here indicating where the jet stream is, tracking to the south of the British Isles, and that leaves us under this cold trough. The blue colours here indicating below average heights and area of low pressure. So this is a classic case of northern blocking, a big blocking area of high pressure developing over the North Pole, forcing the jet stream southwards, and that jet stream takes a trough of low pressure down across the country with it. Now I say if this was winter it would be very cold because the jet stream would be tracking to the south of the country. This high pressure would be forcing cold air down from the Arctic into the British Isles, and the trough would be providing the precipitation that would undoubtedly be falling as snow. It's not winter, it's autumn, so this is just a very cool and very wet sort of pattern. Now we have a look at the GFS. It's very similar. Again, you've got that vast blocking area of high pressure to the north of the country, but this model has the low pressure slightly in a different position. The trough is more centred out to the west of the country. We've still got the jet stream tracking to the south, but the trough is very slightly more to the west of the country than on the GFS, and that means that the jet stream is ever so slightly north. This isn't quite such a cool wet sort of pattern. It's still unsettling, it is still cool, but it's slightly less extreme really than the ECMWF pattern. So if you have a look at the generic GFS charts, this is for Saturday, and we can see we've got this blocking area of high pressure to the north. That is the above average heights that we've seen on the height anomaly charts, 1035 millibars between northern Scandinavia and Greenland. Very unusual to get a blocking area of high pressure there in October. This is the time of year when the Arctic is cooling down dramatically, and the consequence of that cooling is usually to develop big areas of low pressure up over the Arctic and over Greenland. Very unusual really to see this in October, but it's a continuation really of the unusual weather patterns that we've been having on and off really since 2007. We've been getting very unusual weather patterns since the summer of 2007. This is a continuation really of those unusual weather patterns. So if we have a look at where we are down here, we've got low pressure developing out to the west of the country. A big question mark on Sunday. The GFS this morning is taking this area of low pressure down to the south of the country, so that's taking heavy rain probably along the south coast and down into France. But if that low pressure is any further north, then Sunday is going to be a complete washout and a very cold day for many parts of the country, and some of the models do still have that low pressure further north. As going to Monday, again, there's that big blocking area of high pressure to the north of the country, well to the north of Iceland, stretching between northern Greenland and northern Scandinavia, 1030 millibars. We're taking that low pressure way into the continent to the south of the country, and building a bit of a ridge in from the southwest actually, so Monday won't be too bad a day. But then as we go through into Tuesday, and this is a week away, we've got low pressure then starting to sweep in across the country. Remember, I did say that on the high anomaly charts, the low pressure was more centred out to the west of the country, and this is the evidence of that, really, with this slight build of pressure over France, just keeping that low pressure more in the Atlantic and pulling the winds more from a southwesterly or southerly direction as opposed to an easterly, which the ECMWF is showing. But this is all just variations of the theme, really. The main theme with this is that the high pressure is still blocking up to the north of the country. For the ECMWF, for Saturday again, there's that blocking area of high pressure to the north. We're bringing in a low pressure off the Atlantic, and look what this one does on Sunday. It has that low pressure much further north, moving in across Ireland and England and Wales. If the ECM is right, Sunday is going to be a very cold, very wet day across much of England and Wales, a real washout for many of us. As we go into Monday, that low pressure then is starting to slip away to the south of the country, but it would still be bringing a lot of heavy rain across southern areas. And notice again that blocking area of high pressure up to the north from Scandinavia through to Greenland, a very good blocking area of high pressure. And going to a week's time, that high pressure by Tuesday the 16th is actually taking over pattern, and we're bringing in a proper easterly wind then across the country. So that high pressure really is dominating the pattern, with the low pressure being forced a long way south. As I said, the on the height anomaly charts, the ECMWF this morning is the more extreme of the two in terms of blocking and in terms of those cool easterly winds, with the low pressure, the trough being forced actually more to the south of the country. Finally, the Canadian model GM, Saturday had that high pressure developing to the north, low pressure is developing out to west. What does it do on Sunday? It's very similar to the ECMWF as it often is. It brings that low pressure in across England and Wales. So again, this is another model predicting an absolute washout across England and Wales for Sunday. I say the GFS is different. It has that low pressure a bit further south, but most of the other models, it has to be said, are going for that low pressure to come across England and Wales on Sunday. By Monday, the low pressure is being forced to the south. It's blocking area of high pressure takes over the pattern. As we run through to a week's time, that high pressure really does dominate over Scandinavia, again pulling in these easterly winds. If you follow the isobars back, they actually go back to Russia. The wind is coming in from Russia, so if it was wintry, it would be very cold. It's not wintry, it's autumn, so it would just be very cool, really. But we'll certainly feel that easterly wind and notice the chill if it comes off. So some very unusual weather patterns coming up over next week. Very unusual for October, a time of year when the Arctic is normally cooling down rapidly. The Arctic is cooling, but normally the result of that cooling in the Arctic is to develop big areas of low pressure over the pole and over Greenland, and that's what usually gives us our westerly winds, unsettled, mild sort of October weather. This is quite an unusual pattern, it has to be said, for October. But as I've explained, it's just really a continuation of the unusual weather patterns that we've been experiencing since 2007. On and off, of course, not constantly, but on and off, we have been experiencing these unusual weather patterns, and it still goes on. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.